Good morning. Welcome to Third Friday, the Arvada Chamber of Commerce Legislative Breakfast. We're really happy to see you all this morning. Let's start off with announcements by the Chamber of Commerce. Aaron Edwards, current chairman of the Chamber, please come up to the podium.
Good morning, all. Thank you for attending today's event. Wanted to just share a couple things as we're closing up 2009. The Arvada Chamber of Commerce has just had an absolutely stellar year this year. It's just been phenomenal. Our membership retention numbers are higher than they've ever been in the 5 years that I've been tracking them. Our new membership is just incredible. We're going to close year to date. We have a net increase of 150 members in this chamber. Yeah. We've hosted some of the most phenomenal events in recent history, or at least in my memory, and this is a prime example of that. Might have a little bit to do with our speaker today. I'll give him a little credit, but all of our events, we're getting phenomenal feedback. Our attendance is high. We really appreciate all of your support with our events. We've rolled out a lot of new programs this year. We have more new programs to come. One that I just wanted to make note of is our leadership program, in which we're helping to develop our future leaders. Any of our leadership program participants, could you stand for a moment and be recognized, please? This is quite a commitment. This is a 9-month commitment. This is our inaugural class. We filled it, and we actually have a waiting list for next year. And so if it's something that you think you might be interested in, you should get with Dot. There's so many other things that I could talk about as far as the Chamber's accomplishments this year, and we will do that at the annual dinner. So make sure you buy your ticket to the annual dinner, and to find out about the new and exciting things we're going to do in 2010, make sure you renew your Chamber membership. And then in closing, the reason that I think we've been so successful this year is we just have the greatest members, staff, and volunteers in this chamber. It's fantastic. And the catalyst for that, the person that's really been driving this ship, and I think really deserves a special thanks, is our president, Dot Wright.
So let me just say how honored I am to introduce to you Colorado's 41st governor and our first native Coloradan governor in over 35 years, Bill Ritter.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We've been able to protect K through 12 education up to now, and we need K through 12 to do its part too. But to keep the impact to K through 12 from being worse, we did go ahead and eliminate those 13 tax credits. We're very careful about how we did this, and because I'm in a Chamber of Commerce, I just want to spend a moment talking about that. We're protecting exemptions that matter most to consumers and businesses. Things like food and medicine and manufacturing parts will still be exempted from the sales tax. So we put in place, we removed the tax exemption for soda and candy. As people on the other side said, it's becoming a nanny state. Had nothing to do with that. It has, for my purposes, to do with being able to remove this exemption that'll bring a fair amount of money into the state. People will pay 3 cents on a dollar candy bar, 3 cents more on a dollar candy bar, and we don't have to go find that $17 million in K through 12. We don't have to find some other tax exemption that could impact our competitive edge. That's just a business decision on our part that just is about looking at the ways we get to this balance, and at the end of the day, we don't impact our competitive edge. We're not doing things to hurt our competitive edge because we believe it matters as it relates to our ability to recover. We're doing a lot of things right now that we don't want really anybody to come in and mess up, because of the things that we're able to look at and say, we're growing, we're coming out of this. Today, we're going to announce in Colorado that for the first time in over a year, our unemployment has fallen below 7%. Well, that's a really good thing. the national unemployment is going the other way, unfortunately, and I think the last number was 10.2%. We got to 7.8%. I'm talking to Don Elliman, who is my chief operating officer. 7.6% is the high we got, and we've seen it edge down. We've had one uptick, edge down, and so now below 7%. Relative to the rest of the country, it's a very good number. It is the third month in a row that it went down. So it is three full points below the national average and one of the lowest in the country. I know that unemployment numbers don't matter if you're one of those people that's unemployed. And that's what we have to just keep remembering, public office, that while these numbers are a good picture, we have to keep thinking about those individuals who are in fact unemployed, those people who are relying upon unemployment insurance, people that may now be on food stamps, people that are looking at home foreclosure and asking the question of whether or not they're going to have to foreclose their home. It was interesting. There's a story in the Denver Post this morning. If you get an opportunity to read it, the business section, it says that the foreclosures could be a record foreclosure number this year. But the good news is the number of actually foreclosed homes is going to be lower. And they say the reason for that is because many of the people who have their home foreclosed upon are now using our hotline that we set up in conjunction with a lot of other parts, including with industry. We set up this hotline and we're counseling people through it. So while the foreclosure is going up, it looks like for the second year in a row, the number of actually foreclosed goes down because we put in what we call a safety net. We put in a safety net for people who are foreclosed upon to give them a way to see a way through it. And we did some other things legislatively this past year that gives the ability to do a timeout if a person foreclosed upon can really demonstrate that they're right side up. Some ways for them to have a timeout, a 90-day moratorium. They readjust the way their mortgage is paid during that time. And quite frankly, while that's a bad number, increased foreclosures, the actual foreclosed properties is going to be lower because government responded. And that's a good news story. And that's us listening to both the finance community and the housing community about how we can impact that. So let's talk about the strategy. Let's talk about how we come out of this. Number one, certainly it helps have low unemployment, and we can look at that low unemployment and say, in part, it is a result of having a fairly diverse economy. Colorado is this interesting place. Over half the people who work in the state work in what's defined as a small business. And so we've done a lot over the last year just asking the question, how do we ensure that these small businesses are able to navigate their way through this downturn, and how can we in state government assist them in doing that? Don, when he was the head of the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, hosted, along with some other entities, hosted small business finance forums across the state. And the people in those small business finance forums were telling us, listen, the problem for us is access to capital. We were going to a bank a year ago, same risk portfolio we have now. We were getting loans, and those same banks are telling us now we can't do that. Those banks are other lenders besides the banks. So what we did was put back in place the Colorado Credit Reserve. It's under the auspices of CHAFA, but it can provide loans up to $500,000 to small businesses, and quite frankly, the state buys down a little bit of the loan loss reserve. We pay into the loan loss reserve. That money remains in there if the borrower pays it back, and they can churn that money. But that was a way for us to think about ushering small businesses through that downturn. Again, it's a way for us to respond to people who are in distress, to businesses that are in distress, and say, there's a role for government to play in this, and we've been doing that. Our ability to see our way out of this is very much about how we assist small businesses because they're such an important part of it.